Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Good Grief Life After Loss. I'm your host, Skylar Jackenthal, and I am so glad that you are here today. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to follow up on the fact that last episode I talked about the fact that I put in the work and told Sam I wanted him to show up in my dreams, I wanted a sign, and it worked. And it was exciting and amazing. And all that to say, I had a dream last night that completely reversed that entire feeling. I probably had the most realistic dream of my life last night, and it was horrible. It was a nightmare. It was not a dream. And in this dream, I was on the ski mountain and literally watched Sam's accident happen live, watched the whole thing, and it was genuinely so awful. And it's not like I even know the actual details of what it looked like, but my brain took liberty and made up all those details on its own. And it was the most realistic dream. I felt like I was right there on the snow, on the mountain. And it was just so horrible. I don't even know how else to say it. And I woke up and I actually thought there was an earthquake happening because the bed was shaking so much. And then I realized the bed was shaking because I was shaking. And then suddenly I was crying uncontrollably. And it was just the worst experience ever. And for the rest of the day, I felt so off and like distant, and I could just not stop thinking about it. My mind just kept replaying it. Like, unless I was actively talking to someone, if I had a moment to myself to think, that's right where my mind went. It was the worst thing ever. Poor Harrison had no idea about this because I was just like too shocked to speak beyond telling him I had a bad dream. And then in the morning, we were driving to go pick up his new truck. And as we were on our way, I was queuing up a song to play on the speaker, and I just started sobbing out of nowhere with no explanation. And he was driving and was so confused and probably a little terrified, thinking he had somehow done something wrong, and I was crying about it. And I couldn't even use my words because I was just crying so much. And honestly, I felt kind of stupid saying I am sobbing because of a dream I had. But it's just wild the way that my body did not recognize. It was not capable of recognizing that it was a dream and not reality. Like, my body was in full fight or flight mode and just shut down. And I could not stop crying, like uncontrollably crying. Even when I wasn't thinking about it, I still was crying. My eyes were like waterfalls. It was insane, guys. Anyways, all to say that sometimes I feel like I give off the impression on this podcast that I am fine and dandy, that I am healed, I am at the stage of acceptance. And honestly, I think I tell myself that as well. I mean, it's been 10 years. I think it's fair to say I am at acceptance and feel closure and I feel healed. But it is wild that all it takes is one thing, one dream, one not even real thing to happen to set you back, and just threw me right back into the stage of sadness and denial, and it was absolutely horrible. I hope that dream never happens again. But I guess I wanted to share that with you guys so you know that if you have experiences like that, it's normal. I do too, and they suck and they're awful and really hard to shake. But unfortunately, I think it's just the reality of the situation we are in of being grievers. Anyways, enough of that. Let's dive into today's episode. I have to give a shout out to my dad, who had the idea for today's theme. So let's just get into it. So when you're in the thick of grief, it can feel like your entire world has stopped. The pain is so incredibly overwhelming that it is honestly impossible to imagine that you will ever feel normal again. And I guess, truthfully, you probably will never feel normal again, like I just shared. But I remember those early days after losing my brother Sam, feeling like I was simply just existing, not really living. And after losing him, like, my entire life shifted. My perspective on the world shifted. My vision for what my life was supposed to look like had suddenly changed. And I found that I was no longer sure what my purpose was anymore and what life had planned for me. But over time, I started to notice something kind of unexpected happening, which is that as I continued to navigate my own grief, I also found myself becoming a source of support and comfort for others who were also going through their own version of loss. Suddenly, strangers would approach me, or friends were reaching out to me for help on how to comfort another friend grieving. People, I guess, saw that I understood what they were feeling and could relate to them, and they wanted to connect. And honestly, at first I hated it. It's like I didn't want to be the spokesperson for all things grief. But the truth is, it has ended up being one of the most meaningful parts of my grief journey. Because when I was able to be there for someone else, even in a very small way, it did something so powerful for my own healing journey. And I know grief is never easy under any circumstance. I mean, my dad always talks about how, in a way, he feels lucky that Sam's death was an accident rather than by suicide or overdose. But the truth is, we rarely, if ever, get to choose how loss enters our lives. People die because they die, whether it's from illness, accidents, mental health struggles, old age, you name it. As much as we wish we could control it, we simply cannot control it. It just happens. And the pain is the same no matter what. It's overwhelming, it's all-consuming, it's terrifying. But I have come to believe that how we respond to the pain, that is where we have a choice. Something my dad always says is there are only two things you can control: your attitude and your activity. And truthfully, I never fully understood it, or it never really connected with me. But as I was thinking through this episode, I mean, that statement holds so true. You cannot control the loss and the grief and the devastation that will walk into your life. But what you can control is how you react to it, your attitude about it, how you handle it, and what you do next. And for me, that choice ended up being to try and help others who were going through their own grief journeys. Even long before I started this podcast, honestly, I found myself becoming a resource and support system for grievers in my community and outside of my community. Whether it was someone stopping me in the grocery store to share their own story of loss or messaging me online, whatever it was, there were people coming to me just needing someone who understood, and suddenly I found myself in that position to help. And truthfully, I have always loved those conversations because there is something so powerful about being able to look at someone and say, I get it. I have been there. And not to say, not to be the annoying person who, when you lose someone, is like, oh, I totally get it. This same thing happened to me last year when I lost my grandparent or my pet or whatever. But to be able to just say, I see your pain. I understand your pain and I am here for you. I'm not going to fix it, but I am here for you. Because when you are in the depths of grief, I feel like the relief of knowing you are not alone can make all the difference. At least that is certainly the case for me. But there was another aspect to that as well, which is that when I was focused on supporting someone else, I suddenly found that I was not stuck in my own head, ruminating on my own pain and my own grief. I was actually present and listening and trying to provide comfort. And honestly, there is real healing in that. My dad has experienced something similar through the Live Like Sam Foundation we run, where he is constantly getting calls and messages from other parents who have lost children. And I think as exhausting and overwhelming as that is, he also finds so much meaning in being able to guide other grieving parents through their journey. And when you step into that role, it forces you to get out of your own grief and just get into your heart. And instead of focusing on your loss, you have to take your experience, your pain, all that you have gone through and overcome, and find a way to channel that into helping someone else who is about to go through that exact same experience. And I do truly believe that if we don't find ways to channel our grief into positive action, we are missing out on the most incredible opportunity. And it does not have to be starting a nonprofit or hosting a podcast, although those have been incredibly rewarding for me, but even small acts of service like baking your loved one's favorite recipe and sharing it with someone, volunteering where they used to, or just offering a listening ear to another griever, those things can make a world of difference. Because when you're focused on helping someone else, you get out of your head. You're not dwelling on your pain, you are present with someone else's. And I think there is real power in that. It doesn't make your grief disappear, but it can make it feel a little bit lighter. And I'm not gonna lie, running this podcast, running Live Like Sam, it can be very tough sometimes. Most of the time, actually. The grief is always there, and there are days where it truly does feel so overwhelming, and I do question if it's worth it. But I also wouldn't trade this for anything because of the impact I've been able to make. And every time I question if this is what I want to be doing, if I want to continue with this podcast, or if it's too much, it's too overwhelming for me, it's always right at that time that I get a message from another griever, from a listener, from one of you who tells me that this podcast has provided so much peace and comfort and guidance, and that means the world to me. And for me, like 10 out of 10 times, knowing that I am able to lighten the load of someone's grief journey, even just a little, makes it all worth it. So if you are grieving right now, I want you to know that your experience does have value. This does not just have to be some horrible thing that happened to you and changed your life forever and you never recover from. That does not have to be the way this works out. Your story, truthfully, might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And there are so many ways, big and small, that you can take the love you still have for your person and send it back out into the world. For me, I know grief will always be a part of my life, will always be a part of who I am, but helping others has given that grief such a sense of purpose, and purpose makes even the heaviest pain feel a little bit lighter, and I think that is all we can ask for. So thank you all for being here with me today. I hope this episode resonated with you in one way or another. And if you are a griever, I hope this episode has inspired you to take the love that you still have for the person you've lost and to send it back out into the universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, send me a DM, whatever it is. I appreciate you being here today, and we will talk soon. Bye.